This is Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing. You are watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
Okay, so for those of you who like and follow the YouTuber boxing situation with the likes of Logan Paul and Jake Paul, KSI, etc., you'll know that KSI, who's supposed to be taking on some fella called Alex Wasabi on August the 27th. Alex Wasabi, is he managed by Jake Paul? Something like that. Anyway, this Wasabi guy is a YouTuber apparently, and he was going to be taking on KSI, but he suffered a injury. What I hear is concussion. So of course he's pulled out of the KSI fight. KSI is still going to be fighting on August 27th. It's still going to be a pay-per-view fight apparently, but I heard that it's going to be against somebody who he's very good friends with. We'll talk about that in a minute. Anyway, Jake Paul, he offered to step in and fight KSI on August the 27th. Come over to the UK. He said that, you know what, I'll be the B-side, I'll fight you and all that kind of stuff. We'll save your show and whatever else, which is good. You can certainly look at that and go, fair play. But ultimately, listen, KSI, he's been out of the ring since, I don't know, forever now. It's been a long, long time. Jake Paul's been very, very active. That's a mismatch. If he was to jump straight in, if KSI was to accept that, that would be a mismatch. So I could understand KSI turning that down. It's not that he's bottling it, and even if he was, it doesn't really matter. I think it's the right thing to do, because Jake Paul, in my opinion, would knock out KSI right now due to the inactivity. Okay, but KSI fighting somebody who he's very good friends with is like David Haye taking on that Fournier guy. It's ridiculous. It's just a cash grab. Okay, there's no rivalry there. There's no bitterness or anything like that. And what Jake Paul was saying to KSI about it was, well, why are you charging pay-per-view to your fans? You're ripping your fans off by demanding people pay pay-per-view to watch you take on somebody who's clearly going to take a dive. Now, I don't know whether or not this opponent, whoever it's going to be, who's going to be taking on KSI is going to take a dive. I wouldn't know, okay? But yeah, it's not a good look. If somebody's your friend, you shouldn't be charging pay-per-view. You shouldn't, okay? This should just be on regular DAZN or whatever platform it is that they're going to be using. But anyway, to go back onto it, listen, Jake Paul knew that KSI was going to turn it down. Of course he did. If it was roles reversed and Jake Paul was as inactive as KSI has been, and somebody offered to jump in and fight him, who has been very active, he would turn it down too. Of course he would. But again, Jake Paul, he's been going through his own stuff, obviously with Tommy Fury ducking him, with Hasim Rahman going through that whole weight issue. And hey, listen, who knows what's real and what's right and what isn't with any of it? We don't know. All we can do is speculate about the weight, whether it's the lack of ticket sales, whether the pay-per-view numbers were looking that they were going to be taking a dive. Who knows? Who knows what any of that real situation is? But KSI responded to Jake Paul and said, I'm not going to fall for these tricks. I'm not going to fight you at this short notice or anything like that. I want to fight you at Wembley Stadium, where we both have a proper camp. Now, I have no idea if KSI and Jake Paul at Wembley Stadium, would that sell out? Some of you would have a better idea on that than what I would. You really would. But hey, if they do, props. Massive, massive props. But that's a fight that's going to be inevitable anyway. I think Jake Paul and KSI, that's going to be an inevitable fight. It really will. And whoever loses is probably going to be out of boxing. Some people would celebrate that fact. Some people would mourn that fact. Because ultimately, some of these YouTubers who are coming into boxing, listen, some of them are absolute jokers. Okay, some of them are absolute jokers. But the likes of, say, Jake Paul has proven that he's good. He is actually good. And he has tried to fight two professional boxers, and they both fell apart for whatever reason. Is he to blame for any part of any of that? Who knows? But at least he was willing to do it. And ultimately, it was Tommy Fury who pulled out of the Jake Paul fight. It wasn't Jake Paul who pulled out of it. It was Tommy Fury who done it. I said you can all make up your own speculations, and mine's up about the Hasim Rahman Jr. situation. But Jake Paul is looking pretty good. Is he going to go on to win a world title or anything like that? If he's carefully matched, he might. I mean, this is a cruiserweight division. There's a lot of talent in there, but no real big names right now. Hopefully that'll change over time. But anyway, that seems to be a situation. KSI has turned down an offer from Jake Paul to fight him on August the 27th. In fact, KSI was almost blaming Jake Paul, to saying that he's pretty much convinced this Alex Wasabi fellow to actually pull out. But who knows what. I mean, this whole drama thing, it really, for me, I'll be honest. But, I mean, would I watch Jake Paul versus KSI? Yes, I would. But I think right now, you'd have to favour Jake Paul. You really would. I mean, would KSI want to go in there and get brutally knocked out? There's a very real chance that would happen. We'll have to wait and see. Drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next video.